Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. His phone buzzed under my elbow 3 times, then lit with her name. I flipped it before his thumb got there. Come back to mine, I can't breathe. He froze, jaw tight, then reached anyway. I kept the phone because I already knew. I'm Mara, 27, and I was done pretending. We're eating, I said, pushing his plate closer. He watched the steam rise, eyes on the door. Read it again, I said, slow and even. He didn't move, and my skin prickled. He finally laughed short, like we shared a joke. It's her anxiety, he muttered into his glass. So call her therapist, I said, voice flat. My fork hit the table like a little gavel. He looked past me and the room shrank. I dialed her with his phone, speaker on. She picked up before the first ring ended. Are you coming? She whispered, breathy and sure. I stared at him while silence stretched. Who do you think answered? I asked, very calm. The line clicked, she didn't hang up. You're making him choose, floated through the speaker. I'm making him respect me, I said and waited. His hand hovered, then dropped to his side. A kettle hissed somewhere and the air tightened. He reached for the phone too late because I asked first. Are you in danger? I said, clear and direct. No, she said, softer now, like wind losing nerve. Then stop calling it dinner, I said and muted. He flinched like I had slapped both of them. He paced once, twice, then planted himself by the sink. She needs me tonight, came out low, almost careful. So do I answered before my courage blinked. Pick, I added, because this was the test. He stared at the floor and my chest burned. He grabbed his keys and paused at the door. 5 minutes, he said and held up his hand. 3, I said and pointed at the clock. He nodded, already halfway gone, like a promise breaking. The door closed and I started counting. I hit the door at 90 seconds, keys, shoes, no hesitation. Hallway empty, elevator numbers dropping fast. I took the stairs 2 at a time. My breath turned sharp, my gut even sharper. 3 minutes was already dying on the landing. Street noise bit, but my focus tunneled. His taillights blinked once and vanished left. I cut right and called a ride. The driver asked the address and I gave hers. My jaw set as the city rolled past. I rehearsed 3 lines and scrapped them. I would not beg for my own relationship. I would not compete with a ghost promise. I would ask a single question and listen. Silence can expose more than shouting ever does. Her building came into view and I braced. I saw his jacket thrown over a railing. My chest kicked because that detail mattered now. I climbed quietly and counted doors by memory. 2 voices carried her, steady, his low. You always come, floated through the thin gap. Not tonight, came back strained and rough. Something clattered inside and my hand tightened. I knocked once and waited in the charged hush. The lock turned slow like a dare. She opened first and leaned into the frame. No tears, no distress, just measured confidence. You brought her, I said, stepping forward once. He stood behind her with conflicted eyes. I didn't step back, not an inch. Are you safe? I asked her directly. Yes, she answered, unflinching, almost amused. Then we set terms here, I continued. He looked down and rubbed his temple. She smiled at me like a winner. Choose, I said again and held the stare. I was done with soft time extensions. He reached for his jacket without looking up. Home, he muttered, already moving past us. Her mouth tightened, then relaxed like a plan. She caught his sleeve and I watched closely. Just 5 minutes, she urged with practiced warmth. He stopped and glanced over my shoulder. No, I cut in because 5 changes nothing. He freed his arm and the hallway chilled. We walked out together and kept distance. He pressed the elevator and I took the stairs. I needed motion to burn through the fog. We met again on the ground floor. Both doors opened like a split screen. Outside, air cleared my head and my resolve. He reached for my hand and paused midair. Are we done? He asked without drama. Not if action beats comfort, I answered. That word comfort scraped like gravel. Back home, I set my terms on the table. No late rescues, no private visits, no hidden threads. He listened and counted each one with his fingers. I can do that, came out rough but real. I needed proof, not a performance. Call her now, I said, pointing at his phone. On speaker, I added because the old pattern dies slowly. He hesitated, then opened the recent log. Her contacts stared back like a checkpoint. He tapped and we waited for impact. She answered fast and breathy and confident. Can we talk alone? She pushed immediately. He met my eyes and steadied himself. No, he said, voice clear for once. I felt something shift, not victory, just movement. I'm steppin'. G back, he continued, slow and precise. No late calls, no emergencies that aren't real. No one-on-one hangs, not for a while. I care about you, but I won't be your anchor. Static filled the tiny pause like a warning. You're controlled, she snapped, brittle around the edges. I'm choosing healthy boundaries, he answered with weight. Then lose my number, she fired, daring him. He exhaled once and looked at the wall. Take care of yourself, he finished, then ended it. Silence hit hard and traveled across the room. He placed the phone down like a fragile thing. I didn't move to comfort him. I watched for backtracking and old habits. Nothing came, only a slow, rattled acceptance. You'll hate me tomorrow, he managed after a beat. Maybe, I said, honest and steady. But I'll hate myself if I settle. He nodded once and pressed his palms together. We stood there and the night held its breath. I cleaned the table to mark a reset. He took the trash like it mattered finally. Small tasks carry weight when trust is thin. I wanted to believe this pivot would hold. I also packed a suitcase in my mind. Before sleep, I drafted a plan quietly. Shared accounts closed to emergencies only. Location sharing back on until things stabilize. Couples counseling or we pause for real. He agreed to all of it without bargaining. I turned off the light and watched the dark. Change never arrives clean, it drips and stings. I felt tougher than yesterday and still wary. Tomorrow would show the cracks or the repair. Either way, I was ready to walk. The knock came before dawn, fast, 3 raps, then silence. I stood ready because sleep never settled after last night. Another knock, then an envelope slid under the door. I waited 3 breaths and checked the peephole. Empty hallway, only the envelope waiting like a dare. Inside was a photo and 6 words. He belongs where he's needed, remember last winter. My pulse jumped because that season still cut. I took a picture of the note for evidence. I left the original on the counter like bait. He walked in from a run and froze. Don't touch it, I said, steady but wired. He leaned closer and his face changed shape. Someone wants us rattled, I said, and held out my phone. He nodded once and reached for his jacket out of habit. Block her on everything now, I pushed quickly. He unlocked his screen and opened the settings. One by one, the channels went dark. He turned the device over and breathed heavy. Next step, I said, because fear likes gaps. We kept our appointment with the counselor at noon. I spoke first because delay breeds excuses. The boundary stands, I said, with both hands still. He stared at the floor and then met my eyes. I'm done firefighting for her, came out firm. The counselor asked one question and waited. What proof will make you trust movement? Action over time, I answered without softening. Shared transparency, I added, because secrets multiply. He agreed with a small nod that felt different. On the way out, his screen buzzed twice. No name, just an unknown number, then another. I stopped walking and he stopped with me. New route, I said, and gestured at a store. We bought a prepaid phone to block the noise. Back home, a package sat against the door. No return label, only his first name scribbled. He started to open it and I lifted a hand. Gloves, I said, because patterns are messages. Inside lay a sweatshirt that wasn't his anymore. The smell hit me and changed my next move. I sealed the box with clear tape quickly. Take it to the building office, I said. Ask for camera footage for the last hour. He grabbed his keys and moved with purpose. While he was gone, my screen lit again. A mutual friend sent a screenshot in our group. Her story showed our building entrance with a caption. Sometimes you have to fight for real love. My stomach went tight because this was escalation. I called the friend directly and kept my voice cool. Did you see her there? I asked first. Just the clip, she answered with a shaky breath. Delete it from the chat, I said, no apology. She removed it and promised to stop forwarding anything. He returned with the office manager behind him. We watched the footage on a small monitor. At 5 a.m., someone in a hood dropped the box. The stride matched too well to be random. I didn't speak because silence can sharpen resolve. I filed a building report and saved the clip. The manager took copies and promised a call. Next time I involve the police, I told the camera. I meant it and felt my spine agree. He stood beside me and kept his hands open. We sat across from each other at the table. I will not live inside her drama, I said. I will not chase you to doorways again. If this continues, we separate for real. I need you choosing us without prompting. He pulled a small box from a drawer. I planned this for next month, he started quietly. No speak. Ches, I cut in because timing matters. Not until she is completely gone, I added. He put it away slowly and didn't argue. My phone buzzed again with a new number. I let it ring out and checked voicemail. Her voice landed flat and eerily calm. You turned him against me, but he'll come back. I saved it and forwarded it to myself for record. We drafted a single message to mutual friends. No insults, no gossip, only straightforward boundaries. Please remove me from any triangulation with her. Do not share our location or plans. We will step back if lines are crossed again. By late evening, the calls finally stopped. The quiet felt earned and brittle and temporary. He cooked and I watched for twitchy tells. None arrived, only a careful concentration I hadn't seen. I let myself breathe, but not too deeply. Before bed, I placed the envelope in a folder. I labeled it in red for an obvious reminder. Evidence matters when emotions blur lines. Tomorrow we change locks on the mailbox and door. And if the next knock comes, I open with witnesses. The buzzer screamed 3 short blasts, then a voice through metal. Package for him, the courier announced, way too eager. Leave it at the desk, I answered without unlocking. A pause lingered, then footsteps retreated and muffled laughter. I grabbed my phone and started recording anyway. On the mat lay a clear bag with a note. Return to sender, written with a childish loop. I snapped photos and kept the door chained. He joined me and stared at the handwriting. This stops today, I said and meant it. I called the non-emergency line and logged everything. Names, times, the video, the earlier footage. Document and avoid contact, the dispatcher advised slowly. Do not respond to bait, she added after a beat. I thanked her and set the phone down hard. His screen lit unknown number, then another, then silence. He powered down and placed it face down. Work will keep me busy, he tried lightly. I nodded and grabbed my bag with intention. Transparency at lunch, I said, and he agreed. At noon, a coworker waved me over fast. Your name is trending in her comments, she whispered. My stomach locked and I asked to see. A post accused me of isolating him cruelly. Hundreds of strangers volunteered opinions like knives. I flagged the post and took screenshots quickly. I messaged our group with a single line. Do not engage, send reports only. 3 acknowledgements popped up within seconds. I exhaled once and kept moving forward. Security called before I reached the elevator. She is in the lobby, the guard reported flat. Here, I asked, already walking toward the doors. Waiting by the plant, he confirmed with dry patience. I squared my shoulders and stepped into view. She smiled like an actor hitting a mark. Tell him to come down, she purred evenly. Tell him to honor long promises, she added. Leave or I file for a protective order, I answered. Her eyes flashed and the mask slipped a little. Everyone sees what you're doing, she breathed. I kept my hands still and my voice steady. Everyone sees you ignoring boundaries, I countered low and clear. The guard shifted closer and she clocked the movement. She retreated 1 step and tossed her hair. He will fall back to me, she murmured. Not with these conditions, I answered, tired but firm. I choose a relationship without chaos, I continued slowly. Her jaw clenched and she leaned in too far. The guard stepped between us and ended the show. I returned upstairs and called him immediately. Do not exit at street level, I warned. She is watching the front, I added quickly. Take the garage and call me when clear. His breath steadied and he agreed without protest. He arrived home with 2 paper forms. He had already met with building management. He signed a trespass notice with calm hands. I am done being available, he stated. Something unclenched in me, not relief, just space. Evening brought an email from a mediator. Her name sat in the subject line like a trap. A neutral third party proposed a meeting tomorrow. I read every line twice and checked the footer. It connected to a free account with no address. Decline without comment, I wrote back coldly. We will handle this through proper channels, I added. He nodded and drafted the same refusal. Our lawyer friend reviewed the draft within minutes. Perfect, she replied, keep everything archived for court. At 9, the fire alarm jolted the whole floor. I grabbed the folder and my shoes on instinct. In the stairwell, a neighbor whispered her name again. She was spotted near the panel, he muttered quickly. We waited curbside until the truck cleared the fault. Back inside, I took out the ring box. I placed it between us and set one rule. We do this after 30 quiet days. No harassment, no flare-ups, no secret messages. His eyes didn't waver, and that mattered. He opened a shared calendar. On the tablet, daily check-ins for 5 minutes, he proposed. Read receipts on everything, I added without blinking. Location sharing for both, he said and handed it over. The trust felt mechanical yet necessary like splints. My phone buzzed one last time before midnight. A final message from a new account arrived. You won for now, enjoy his borrowed heart. I archived it and logged the timestamp precisely. Then I locked our door and slept with shoes ready. The email hit before my alarm, subject line flagged by HR. A complaint filed under my name accused her of harassment. Attached was a clipped audio of me at the lobby. Only my lines cut sharp and out of order. I threw on clothes and started recording my screen. I forwarded everything to HR with the full video. Timeline attached, names listed, dates logged. I copied our lawyer friend and our building manager. No explanations, just evidence that answers itself. My hands shook, but my aim stayed steady. He walked in mid-keystroke and froze at the header. Listen first, I said and played the lobby clip. Then I played the original start to finish. His jaw locked, then unlocked like a bad gear. This is sabotage, he breathed, and I nodded once. Another ping arrived, this time from his work. A burner account sent screenshots of old messages. Not explicit, not clean either, all heavy innuendo. His face drained and he leaned against the counter. Is this everything? I asked, because now mattered. I flirted last spring, he admitted with shallow breath. Nothing physical, he added, eyes on the floor. I let the silence stretch over both of us. You let her believe she had a shot, I said. He closed his eyes, then met mine without flinching. We fix or we end, I laid out with precision. Tangible steps, I added, because vague promises rot. He nodded and opened his laptop with purpose. He drafted a disclosure to his manager about harassment. He included his own boundary failures in plain words. While he typed, my phone vibrated with a request. A reporter wanted comment on a relationship controversy. I blocked the number and saved the message. I posted a single line to my closed circle. No statements to press, please decline all contact. At noon, the counselor pushed us harder than before. Repair requires ownership, she said and folded her hands. List what you will do today. He took a breath and started counting with conviction. No personal channels with her, no private rescues, full transparency. My list I followed, keeping my voice even. Shared passwords for now, daily debriefs, exit plan ready. Non-negotiables, she prompted, eyes on me only. If I find hidden contact, I move out. The room went quiet, heavy but honest. We left with a plan and a calendar entry. He messaged mutual friends with a clear notice. No introductions, no updates, no middleman games. Direct all concerns to building security or counsel. We are not taking calls about her. Back home, an envelope waited under the door again. No stamp, just my first name scrawled wrong. Inside lay a printed thread of my comments. Blue highlights circled anything that favored boundaries. At the bottom, a smudged heart in a dare. I photographed every page and sealed it away. Camera caught no one, the office replied minutes later. Angle missed the floor by an inch. I requested new placement and an additional lens. We were done being easy targets in our own hall. My mother called then and I debated answering. I picked up and kept my tone level. We're handling a situation, I said, concise and calm. I'm safe and I'll update you later. She offered help and I thanked her without details. Evening brought one more escalation disguised as peace. A new account sent a long apology filled with blame. She wanted a sit-down with a mutual to mediate. She included a location and an exact time tomorrow. I typed a reply and deleted it mid-sentence. No response, I told him, and he agreed immediately. He blocked the account and set his devices aside. We cooked together without talking about the past. Every move small and deliberate and almost tender. Warmth returned like a skittish animal, then hovered. The fire alarm stayed quiet this time, but my brain ticked. I checked the peephole before showering because patterns stick. Empty corridor, only a folded flyer on the handle. I unfolded it and found a workshop on boundaries. I laughed once, sharp and humorless, then set it down. He came over with the ring box again. He opened it and didn't ask a question. Not yet, I said and touched the lid. Proposed to me with 30 silent days. He closed it gently and pulled me closer. Before sleep, I drafted 2 final messages. One to HR with a numbered list of tampering incidents. One to our neighbors asking for footage if anything repeats. Both sent, both saved, both timestamped. I placed the folder by the door like armor. In the dark, I plotted a harder line for morning. Police report filed in person with every artifact. Temporary order requested if another stunt lands. If he hesitates, I leave with my suitcase. I fell asleep mid-plan, ready to move fast. I filed the report at opening time, folder under my arm. The clerk scanned every page and marked the incidents. Any direct threats, he asked without looking up. Implied ones plus stalking behavior, I answered. He stamped the form and told me to wait. While I waited, my phone hummed with an alert. A new story tagged me with a countdown. 2 hours until a truth drop about us. I captured it and sent it to counsel. Then I turned my ringer off and breathed carefully. He arrived with coffee and a clenched jaw. We do this together, he murmured, back straight. We sat shoulder to shoulder, no small talk. The officer called our names and reviewed the footage. Order requested, he concluded and set a hearing. Outside, a delivery driver waved an envelope. Pickup verification, he announced, impatient and loud. I checked the label and passed it back. Wrong unit, I told him, eyes steady. He shrugged and left, and my pulse kept pace. On the sidewalk, a car slowed and lingered. Tinted window, nothing visible, just watching. I recorded the plate and tucked my phone away. He placed his palm between my shoulders. We walked to the garage without breaking stride. At work, my inbox blew up at once. Her post dropped screenshots of a fake chat. My name appeared next to messages I never wrote. Timestamps matched my meeting from last week. I pulled attendance logs and hit forward instantly. HR replied within minutes with a calendar invite. Emergency review, 2 managers, security looped. I dialed in and presented proof cleanly. Call logs, location pings, the original video file. They muted to confer and my heart thudded. They returned with a direct instruction and reassurance. Focus on your tasks today, they said. We will address defamation through counsel. I nodded at my screen and kept receipts. I worked in sprints and ignored the noise. At lunch, he met me outside the building. Garage route, I reminded, and he veered left. We ate quickly and shared updates in bullet form. He had blocked 2 more numbers and reported the accounts. I tracked the clock because that countdown still ran. At 1:55, the next drop triggered. A live video started from a public bench. She sat with a microphone and a box. Artifacts from our friendship, her caption read. A small crowd gathered, phones raised, hungry for scandal. I walked closer and kept a professional distance. He stopped at the curb and watched my face. Do we approach? He asked, voice low and careful. We observe and log, I answered and hit record. My hands were steady and my jaw was set. She pulled out a scarf and held it high. "Proof he belongs with me," she declared theatrically. A man in the crowd laughed and stepped back. She produced printed DMs that weren't his. Watermarks showed mismatched fonts and broken dates. I moved forward exactly one step and spoke clearly. "Cease targeting me," I said, even and sharp. "Leave this area now," I added, no tremor. The crowd shifted and the air tightened. She smirked at me and raised the box. Blue lights flashed at the curb and doors opened. 2 officers approached and requested identification. I handed mine over and kept my voice calm. He did the same and stood 2 paces behind. She protested loudly and pointed at me. "Do you have a restraining order?" one asked. "Hearing scheduled," I answered, folder ready. "Multiple incidents documented today," I added. He examined the timestamps and nodded once. They turned to her and requested the box. She hesitated and clutched it tighter. "Voluntary," one officer reminded, tone neutral and firm. She shoved it over and crossed her arms. They opened it and sifted through items methodically. "Counterfeit screenshots," the younger officer muttered to himself. They returned the box and issued a warning. "Disperse and stop recording strangers," they instructed. She backed away and tried to hold the crowd. The crowd lost interest fast and drifted. I saved the video and closed my notes. Back home, our neighbor knocked with a USB stick. "Hallcam caught something at 10, he said. We watched a figure test our door quietly. A second person waited at the stairwell landing. Both left when footsteps approached from below. I emailed the clip to our building manager. I CC'd the officer and our lawyer friend. "Pattern escalating," I wrote, short and precise. He tightened his fists and rested them on his knees. "We move the hearing up," he urged. My phone chimed with an unexpected calendar invite. "Couples counseling follow-up scheduled for 9 tomorrow." I accepted and added an agenda line. "Repair versus breakup, choose without hedging." He saw the edit and nodded without FL. Ching. Evening arrived with a message from an unknown account. "Meet me alone and I'll end this," it read. I typed 3 words and hit send. "Contact my attorney," I replied. Then I blocked and archived and exhaled once. He opened the ring box and set it between us. "No words," he said, palms flat, eyes clear. "We finish 30 days and you decide," he continued. "I will honor whatever choice you make." I believed him because fear finally left his voice. We counted aloud the days already clean. 1 week without contact, no stunts, no leaks. Today broke that streak in obvious ways. I traced a line across the calendar and paused. "Reset from tomorrow," I said, and he agreed. Midnight approached and the building quieted. I checked the peephole and saw a shadow. My chest tightened and my grip firmed. Another shadow joined and a key scraped metal. I raised my phone and started streaming live. The lock resisted and the handle rattled. He walked to the door and stood beside me. "Security is on the way," I spoke loudly. Footsteps retreated and hurried down the hall. Our stream captured the backs of 2 figures. Security arrived with an officer trailing behind. We played the recording and handed over the clip. "Good call going live," the officer noted. "Witnesses matter when charges land," he added. I saved the video and wrote the timestamp. At 2 a knock sounded, single and soft. A note slid under and stopped near the mat. I used a glove and lifted a corner. 3 words typed in caps, all nightmare confidence. "He will break," followed by a long line. I bagged it and logged the detail meticulously. He added it to the folder and closed the clasp. "We sleep in shifts," I suggested, jaw tight. 4 hours each and alarms every 30, I added. He agreed and set the schedule without argument. Morning brought exhaustion and a message from HR. Formal action initiated against the smear account. Account linked to a device registered to her cousin. I forwarded it and kept the subject neutral. Evidence piled up and started to lean our way. At the courthouse, the clerk recognized our names. "Hearing moved to today," she said briskly. "Judge available at 11, she continued. We waited on a wooden bench and reviewed notes. I held my breath and then let it go. Inside the courtroom, the judge listened in silence. He looked at exhibits and the timeline. He scanned the transcript of the live stream. He asked 2 questions and then glanced at her. Her answers drifted and collided with the evidence. Order granted, he ruled, voice firm and final. Distance specified, contact forbidden, violations criminal. He tapped his pen once and stood. We received the papers and stepped into the hallway. I steadied myself against the wall and closed my eyes. Outside, she waited beyond the posted distance. She watched us with a furious, brittle stare. I met it and didn't blink at all. 2 officers shifted and she turned away. I exhaled slowly and tucked the order deeper. We returned home through the garage and up the stairs. Inside, I placed the folder in a drawer. He locked the door with deliberate, patient movements. We sat at the table with our phones off. Silence settled, not empty, just earned. Decision day at 30, I reminded, counting softly. He nodded and pushed the ring box closer. No expectation, he said, fingers interlaced, breathing steady. Just hope and work and honesty. I touched the lid and let it sit. Days passed with checks and brief talks. Short walks together, shared meals, strict routines. No late-night drama, no mystery numbers, no bait. I relaxed in increments and watched his patterns. He showed up even when it was boring. On day 29, the door stayed quiet. My phone remained still, my shoulders finally dropped. We cooked and laughed once without flinching. He didn't touch the ring box all night. I noticed that and filed it as progress. Day 30 arrived with rain and 2 umbrellas. We walked to the pier and faced each other. He placed the ring box on the bench. Ask when you feel safe, he whispered. Or walk away if safety never returns. I opened the box and studied the circle. No speech, no crowd, no borrowed romance. Your answer lives in conduct, not metal, I said. You've shown enough to continue cautiously. He closed his eyes, then opened them clearer. I slid the ring onto my finger slowly. Engaged to a plan, not just a person, I clarified. Prenup, therapy, zero tolerance for secrecy, I listed. And a reset at the first sign of drift. He smiled, small and real, and took my hand. We walked home with our steps in sync. No music, no cheering, only quiet resolve. I slept without shoes for the first time. In the morning, I turned location sharing off. Trust had to stand without training wheels or fall. A week later, the court mailed confirmation. Order served, violations recorded as none. I filed the letter and closed the drawer gently. He passed me his phone without prompting. Nothing there but boring, which felt perfect. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for a knock. My body remembers alarms and sprinting. Then I breathe and choose the present deliberately. He rinses a dish and looks for my eyes. We nod small like people who learned the hard way. I won't forget what almost wrecked us. I also won't live tied to the old script. If chaos returns, I'll leave in 1 hour. He knows that and loves me inside that line. We built a boundary with actions and we guard it.